guys talk about a movie that I wanted to see, that both of you saw, that only I wanted to see.
So I guess
both of you saw it.
Yeah, I guess I haven't ruminated and really thought about this one, so this might be tough.
The Eyes of My Mother.
Right.
That's the movie.
Ryan, did you know what this movie's about? Did you just know it looked cool?
It looked very interesting.
I didn't know what it was about until I saw it, and I was like, oh. And I guess kind of knowing what it's about is kind of a spoiler. I feel like the moment where you realize where the movie goes.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's in the first 10 minutes, so I guess.
From what I take from the trailer, it's about, this woman.
Okay, I think I can set up the basic.
Okay,
all right.
Set it up for me.
Right. So it's about this. I guess it's essentially about this woman, but it starts off being about this family who lives in in a little farmish place. It seems like they're
a remote house.
Yeah, as living in Nebraska, there are these little pockets of small communities that seem to be isolated from anything else.
Yeah.
And they live in this house, and there's not really anyone around them. And then one day, this guy comes up to their house while this little girl is playing outside, and she kills her mother.
The guy does.
The guy does.
Yeah.
This you think he's just a salesman.
Yeah,
or
I thought he was a have you heard the good news guy.
Yeah, have you heard the good word guy? He kills her mother, and then the father, who was out of town, comes back just in time to catch him pretty much defiling the corpse, I guess you would say. Mm-hmm. And instead of killing him or turning him to the authorities, they keep him locked up in the barn. And I'm sorry, Ryan, we're this is the first 15 minutes of the movie.
Exactly.
It's the whole setup for the entire thing. So they lock him up in this barn, and the young girl, Francesca, she gets it seems like there's it's hard to tell if the character was always like this or something broke inside her when she saw her mother die.
Yeah.
Because she gets a weird fascination with the guy and starts taking care of him in the barn and feeding him, and she begins to get closer to her father, and she starts dealing with these issues of being alone and shit. Mm-hmm. And then that's where I don't know where to draw the line with spoilers and what's the movie, because a lot of it feels like moments that you shouldn't know ahead of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically it is what this young woman's life is from that moment. That moment shapes what the entire movie is, and we see her growing up and how she reacts to the world around her, and how does she deal with her quote unquote loneliness.
It's the way her growth and development is warped after this traumatic experience. How she deals with it, like you said. And
I want to not spoil it, because I feel like those moments, because I think I like this movie, I didn't like it as much as I wish I did, and I feel like spoiling those moments would be
taking away the
exactly.
Those
are the things I did like about it. So I guess talking in generalities, I guess we could talk about, because Karrie and I saw it. Ryan didn't see it.
Nope.
So we can talk about does it do a good job of what it's trying to do. So this film is in black and white, and the contrast of the blacks and the whites are really stark. The darks look really dark and the brights look really bright. And I think part of that makes this movie interesting. I personally feel, because I feel if this movie was in color, it'd be way less interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess you could say that that's a gimmick, but it's not like they just slapped a black and white filter on it. You could clearly see that it was thoughtfully done, and there were decisions made to make it a more effective black and white.
Yeah, it makes it feel a little you can. The black and white kind of makes it feel a little bit more isolating. I don't know how to. It feels like this isn't. It's detached from reality, and it's more what's in her head.
Yeah, it almost makes it more cold too.
Yeah, totally.
Totally. It's emotionless if there's no colors for you to seek out and attach to. Everything's just monochrome.
And so we're sort of telling kind of a sort of sympathetic story of this character who is troubled and is the quote-unquote bad guy of this movie. Again, I don't want to spoil anything.
The bad Santa of Eyes of Our Mother.
Sure.
Some would say.
And if they're going to tell this story that's sort of Texas Chainsaw Massacre-y, but also sort of into the mind of a character like a Michael Myers or something like that, but you're sympathetic towards her as well.
Yeah.
I think they did a good job, kind of, but it isn't incredibly interesting or grabbing. I just didn't find the movie very interesting.
I didn't ever feel too invested.
Right, I wasn't grabbed. I'm watching this,
this movie's just kind of happening to me.
And it sounds really disparaging. Like, there is some cool shit. I think, like, the last 30 minutes of this movie are the strongest because they add something that could have been the whole center of the movie, I think.
Yeah.
And then that last thing wraps up real quick.
Mm-hmm. That part is effective.
Right, that part, I think that's the strongest part of the movie.
Yeah.
And it wraps up real quick. Like, the middle of the movie, I think it's the weakest, and that's the thing that's like... Because the movie is literally separated into part 1, part 2, and part 3.
Mm-hmm.
And that part 2 is the majority of the movie, and that one's pretty slow and, like, lingering.
And I mean, maybe that's part of it, but it's kind of bad when it's, the movie's, like, just over an hour long, and I'm sitting there watching it being like, this is going on.
Yeah, it feels
long.
super long.
And it's like, it's not long at all. But
those are those moments, like, there are those moments where they use the black and white and lighting, and it looks fucking striking as hell. Like,
yeah.
There's a specific scene when the guy is chained up in that barn, and like you see like light hitting him right, and it's like, oh, it's really good. It's really evocative, but I don't think it's incredibly interesting, and I don't think it's incredibly scary. I think I like her as a character.
Yeah,
but
she's interesting, but not.
There's good stuff in this, but I wouldn't like recommend it. Maybe like I don't know, like. How would you recommend this? Like, I don't know, like, what are you looking for? Like, I wouldn't call it a traditional horror movie.
No.
Like, it's kind of avant-garde.
Yeah, and the way that we thought it was going to be, like, really fucked up and gruesome, and it really wasn't.
Or scary. It's just kind of, like, I don't even... It's really slow, and when, like, big stuff happens, it doesn't feel big, because they don't make, like, a jump scare, or, like...
Yeah, no.
The moment happens, and it lets you linger on the moment.
Yeah, and I like that.
I like that,
it's not cheap in the cheap horror way, but I guess you could say that it's a interesting and dark character study.
Yeah, sure, totally.
Of this main character.
Yep, that's exactly what there's this movie that I've never been able to see. It's called, like, Behind the Mask. It's like a sort of faux horror documentary.
Leslie Vernon?
Yeah.
I've seen that. And
that's about, like, a sort of, like, faux documentary about a killer. Am I right?
Yeah, it's a mockumentary, and this girl is following around this guy who is a serial killer and the steps he takes and his process in...
Right. So it's, in that vein, it's sort of a horror movie that's trying to give you the perspective of that bad guy.
Yeah.
And I think it's an interesting one, and I don't regret watching it, but I think it's really hard to recommend.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think Ryan would like it?
I think Ryan would like this.
I think Ryan would like it.
I think Ryan would like it.
That's why I've been wanting to watch it.
It seems like a really Ryan movie.
Yeah.
And I'm really mad that you guys both saw it.
And we're like,
I haven't.
You
And I sit here and you guys are talking about all these things in the movie that really just suck. And I'm like, oh, jeez, guys, come on.
Oh, come on.
Oh, come on, guys, jeez.
But I think if you saw it now, you'd be able to connect what we saw.
Yeah.
Like,
probably.
Like, yeah.
Or since we both didn't like it, you'd be like, this is the best movie.
That's how I usually am. It's like, how dare you guys not like Dance
really
My Mother, or Blair Witch, or Bad Santa 2.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't call it a bad movie or anything.
It's not bad. It's a good movie. It just didn't grab me. Like,
no, yeah.
It wasn't for me. Like, I've seen people, like, who, like, I trust their, like, horror movie opinion, like, love this thing. I was like,
Yeah, I mean, it is unique, and it does some... I don't know. It does that unsettling thing where it's like the movie leaves a lasting impression on you, I guess, and it makes you feel uncomfortable, and that's where the horror comes from, which I like, but I don't know.
It's also one of those movies that I can see just like people who I don't know how to describe them, like people like the sort of people who thought it follows like fucking garbage, like this is so slow and dumb. Like this movie is fucking slow. Like it really is.
When I was looking at the IMDb page for this one after I watched it, one of the first user reviews was a 1/2 star, and the person said, "Turned it off after the first 20 minutes. It was so boring."
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, I can see that. But yeah, I think we covered it. Is there anything you want to say about it, Karrie, that we haven't talked about?
Nah.
I can't think of anything. Yeah, I just don't know how to like.
I mean, it's short, so if you got a spare hour,
sure.
Crank it out.
I think it's 1.5 hours actually.
Oh shit.
But yeah, I don't know. All right, let's move on to something else. This one.